All right, so now moving on to our discussion on governing AI. So the lecture that I'm covering is lecture 10. So it focuses on ethical, legal, and institutional design needed to govern AI as autonomous decision makers. It asks whether AI deserves rights, uh, what responsibilities and liabilities should attach to AI and their creators, and what principles and practical due diligence steps, that is from pre-deployment to deployment to retirement, make AI governable while protecting human dignity and legal remedies. The slides foreground a human first approach, that is right to know, appeal, and litigate, insistence on human subordination of AI per IEEE, and operational due diligence rules for vendors, governments, and deployers. Right now, the core concepts and the big legal, physical, philosophical questions. Why regulate AI differently? So, AI systems increasingly perform autonomous decisions from sprinklers to sentencing recommendations. Their output can be trivial or life changing. The governance question is how to ensure safety, fairness, accountability, and human dignity when the machine decisions affect people on a large scale. Now, two provocative prompts in this lecture. First is Lambda or Lemoine excerpt that raises the cultural or ethical issue of AI appearing to claim personhood. The lecture uses this to ask whether we should treat AI like persons or instead keep strict human subordination. And the second one is practical framing. Even if AI sounds conscious, policy must base rights and remedies on robust moral and social criteria, not shock headlines. The lecture notes IEEE's position, that is, no human rights for AI. AI should remain subordinate to human judgment. Now, philosophical tenets, normative foundations for regulation. Two central normative questions the lecture poses. First is, should AI have human rights? The answer is given in the slides, that is no. Keep the AI subordinate. The rights are reserved for humans only. And should AI have responsibilities, be agents under law? The lecture suggests responsibilities attached to the humans or organizations that design and deploy the AI. That is the vendors, the owners, the coders, the operators, the developers, basically. Now, why not grant AI human rights? So first is moral status. Human rights arise from capacities and relationships, that is moral agency, vulnerability, and dignity, embedded in human life. Machines lack these grounded relations. Second is predictability. Granting rights would complicate the liability, undermine remedies for victims, and could let vendors avoid responsibility by invoking AI autonomy. Governability, subordinating AI to human judgment, preserves clear accountability channels and makes regulation enforceable. Right. So the practical normative principles the lecture endorses, that is the human first frame. These are ex ante principles that should be used to guide regulation, procurement, and organizational policy. First is right to know, meaningful disclosure, that is beyond token notice. Users must be clearly informed when they interact with AI, not just this site uses cookies. Standardized identification label, a uniform way to identify AI systems. Imagine a nutrition label for AI that explains capabilities, limits, and provenance. Right to refuse. Individuals should be able to decline AI mediated decision making when feasible. Opt out. Then we have right to appeal, human review. Every human affected by an AI decision should be able to appeal to a human decision maker who can consider extenuating circumstances AI may miss. This preserves human judgment as the ultimate check on algorithmic decisions and prevents automated finality by machines. Right? And then we have third, right to litigate, that is access to remedies. Individuals must have access to legal remedies that they can use when they are harmed by AI. Liability principle, primary responsibility lies with the vendor, the developer, the creator, or the supplier, subject to due diligence standards. The deployers or operators also carry obligations. This preserves the ordinary rule of law. Humans and corporations, not machines, are accountable. Operationalizing the principles, due diligence lifecycle, we have three stages. First is pre-deployment, that is what to do before launching an AI system. So we basically have developer training. So let me highlight this. Right, we would like to make sure that uh, of the AI system, the development teams of the AI system know legal and ethical rules for AI. Then we have the registration, that is require public registration of these AI systems with the government agency that creates traceability. Then initial testing, thorough testing for harms, that is bias, discrimination, safety, robustness, privacy impacts while using the AI. Use adversarial testing and safety red teams. Impact monitoring system, design continuous monitoring, telemetry, logging, drift detection. Then insurance. Vendors or deployers should carry insurance or bonding for potential harms. Then public feedback period, especially for government deployments. Solicit stakeholder input before launching. Right. Now deployment. So live operation obligations. So contractual guarantees. We have vendors must contractually guarantee the compliance with anti-discrimination and safety laws. User interface obligations. The UI must implement right to know and the right to appeal features. For example, explainability summaries, human review buttons. Then human appeal referees. Train and accredit human appeal officers who can override AI decisions. Periodic retraining and auditing. Monitor how real world data affects the model. If harmful drift occurs, regulator must be able to suspend or redeploy the system. Then we have the retirement, that is the end of the life cycle. Public notification of retirement and a permanent record archiving the metadata and the logs for a specified period. Lecture suggests around 10 years. Then data archiving to enable forensic audits and compensation claims. Align retention periods with harm limitation statuses. Then harm limitation window. Retention window tied to status of limitations for claims ensures the victims can litigate. Then we have enforcement and institutional design. So regulatory architecture suggests components. First, we have registration and model registry, centralized public registry of deployed AI systems, indexing purpose, vendor, version, risk level. Then risk-based categorization, higher regulatory burdens for high-risk systems, that is criminal justice, healthcare, finance. Then accredited third-party auditors, independent bodies who can certify compliance and perform algorithmic audits. Human-in-the-loop mandates for critical decisions require a human decision maker to review or affirm outcomes. Then incident reporting and recall powers, mandatory reporting of incidents, that is bias or safety failures while using the AI, or privacy leakage, right, or private data leakage, and regulator power to suspend or de-deploy systems. Now, remedies and liability design. So, vendor primary liability plus due diligence defense. Vendors liable unless they can prove rigorous due diligence, testing, monitoring, mitigation. And operator or deployer liability. Deployers who misuse or fail to monitor models remain jointly liable. Then insurance and compensation funds, mandatory insurance or industry levies to compensate victims promptly. And you can see capacity building in public institutions. So regulators, skill building like technical teams able to audit ML models, drive enforcement. Then public AI labs and audit nodes, and transparency and public reporting using summary reports, dashboards showing accurate harms and enforcement actions. Now corner cases and hard problems. So sentence and personhood, lambda example, sentience. Practical policy stance. Treat claims of machine sentience skeptically and continue to treat AI as tools until robust, philosophical and legal consensus emerges. Granting personhood would create perverse incentives and obfuscate human accountability. Human parity and political status. If machines reach a level that appears to claim rights, regulators should still prioritize human rights and remedies, not machine rights. The lecture frames this as preserving the political parity in favor of humans. Now, distributed systems, cross border deployment, and jurisdiction. Now, many AI systems operate transnationally. That is, national rules may be evaded. So, the lecture implies need for an international coordination in order to curb the usage of AI for negative effects, negative uses. Shared registries and cross border mutual assistance for enforcement. Then concrete templates. So pre-deployment checklist, vendor regulator. You need to check the system name, the version, the vendor contact, mail, purpose and scope, data provenance summary, the training data description, bias and fairness tests performed with results, safety and adversarial testing, privacy impact assessment, insurance coverage proof, public feedback log, and registration number once it has been registered. Now, user-facing AI label, the right to know, short plain language description of who made the system, the version, the main purpose, the use, the purpose and scope, the confidence and uncertainty limits, how the decision is used, how to appeal, and contact for redress. Display at point of interaction, that is chatbot header or decision notifications. Now, human appeal picture, the right to appeal, time windows for appeal, evidence submission format, independent review, timeline for human response, records for audit, train appeal referees on AI behavior and domain specifics. Now, policy trade-offs and critiques, honest appraisal, so trade-offs, safety versus innovation, strict pre-deployment rules, slow rollout and innovation, rules, slow rollouts and innovation, use sandboxes and tiered regimes to balance. Then transparency versus IP or secrecy, full model disclosure may harm the competition or security of the AI model, balance with certified audits and regulator access to secrets under NDAs. Then human rights versus automation gains, preserving rights may reduce some gains from automation, policy must combine protections with social safety net measures. And critiques or challenges, regulatory capacity, that is many regulators lack staff with ML expertise, enforcement across borders, companies can deploy where rules are lax, then ambiguous and accountability, complex supply chains, that is data suppliers, model providers, deployers, integrators, complicate the liability assignment, and gaming rules, firms might name features as recommendations to avoid regulation. Now, some questions. According to the lecture, who should normally hold primary legal responsibility for harms caused by a deployed AI system? The vendor, the creator, or the supplier, right? So basically, the deployer or the person who's selling or supplying the AI model or system. Which of the following is not part of the due diligence lifecycle? We have pre-deployment testing, deployment monitoring, and retirement archiving. But D is the option. Permanent public deletion of all logs. Retention, not deletion, is recommended. Is not a part of due diligence lifecycle. Now, give three concrete features an AI label should include. An AI label should include the developer or vendor name and contact, the plain language purpose and scope of the AI system being used, and how to appeal and contact for redress, and limitations and the version number, as well as the registration number when it has been registered. Now, why is human subordination of AI important for legal remedies? It preserves clear human legal agents to hold accountable, ensures victims have persons or companies to litigate against, and prevents AI autonomy from obfuscating liability chains. Now, design a national regulatory framework for high risk AI, health or justice based on lecture principles. So, basically, we have risk classification, then registration, pre deployment testing and certification by accredited auditors, then mandatory AI label and UI features for a right to know and appeal, then human appeal mechanism, continuous monitoring and mandatory incident reporting, then regulator powers to suspend and recall, retirement and archival, and vendor liability with due diligence defense, capacity building for regulator and international coordination. Right. Now, okay, study city plans to trial an AI tool for welfare eligibility that automates benefit denials. Provide six recommendations. So first, classify as high risk, the pre-deployment audit, then public consultation and pilot in sandbox, then right to know label and opt out for applicants, and human appeal officer with clear timeline, vendor contractual guarantees and insurance, then retention of logs for 10 years plus, regulator power to suspend. Right. Now, these are some of the suggestions that you have. If you are a regulator, require registration and implement a risk based certification regime, create accredited independent auditors, mandate incident reporting, and fund regulator capacity building. If you're a vendor, run adversarial testing, implement explainability and right to appeal UI, purchase insurance, and register systems, keep those archives. If you're a public interest group, push for strong right to know rules, the right to appeal, accessible appeals, and public audit reports. If you're a user or a citizen, demand to know when a decision was made by AI and exercise appeal and litigation rights if they have been harmed.